Hello everyone, and welcome to the Scary Story channel. Today we're venturing into the shadows of a place that time forgot. A place where whispers of the past still echo through rusted corridors. We're talking about the old Blackwood Mill, an abandoned factory on the edge of town that has been silent for over 50 years. But as many locals will tell you, silent doesn't mean empty. The story begins in the early 1970s. Blackwood Mill was the heart of the community, a bustling hub of industry where hundreds of people earned their living. The air hummed with the sound of machinery, a constant rhythm that defined the town's daily life. But one cold autumn morning, the rhythm stopped. Without warning, the factory gates were chained shut. The owners vanished, the workers were left without jobs, and a shroud of mystery fell over the massive brick building. The official story was bankruptcy, a simple economic downturn. But the workers who lost their livelihoods knew something was amiss. They spoke of strange occurrences in the weeks leading up to the closure. Tools would go missing only to reappear in impossible places. Machines would power on and off by themselves, their gears grinding in the dead of night when no one was there. Chilling whispers seemed to drift from the darkest corners of the factory floor, speaking names no one recognized. Most unsettling were the stories about the factory's founder, a reclusive man named Silas Blackwood. He was a brilliant but strange industrialist who poured his life into the mill. Legend has it he was obsessed with creating a perpetual motion machine, something that could run forever without fuel. He spent countless nights locked away in his private workshop in the factory's basement, a place no other employee was ever allowed to enter. Some said the sounds coming from that workshop weren't just mechanical. They were something else, something unnatural. After the factory closed, Silas Blackwood was never seen again. Some believe he simply left town, heartbroken by his financial ruin, but others whisper a darker tale. They say he finally succeeded in his strange experiments, but the machine he created wasn't just metal and gears, it was something more. They claim he became a part of his own creation, his spirit forever bound to the heart of the factory. For years the factory stood derelict, a monument to a prosperous past. But curiosity is a powerful thing. Teenagers would dare each other to sneak past the crumbling brick walls, looking for a thrill. Few ever stayed long. They would come back with pale faces and wide eyes, telling stories of shadowy figures darting between pillars and the distinct feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. They'd talk about a low rhythmic hum that seemed to emanate from deep within the building, a sound like a giant machine still breathing. One of the most famous accounts comes from a group of urban explorers who decided to document their visit in the late 90s. Their names were Mark, Sarah, and Kevin. Armed with flashlights and a clunky video camera, they slipped through a broken window one moonless night, eager to capture the factory's secrets on tape. The air inside was thick and heavy, smelling of rust and decay. Their footsteps echoed unnervingly in the vast empty space. Huge, silent machines stood like ancient metal beasts, covered in decades of dust and cobwebs. As they moved deeper, the temperature dropped dramatically. Their breath plumed in the flashlight beams, even though it was a mild night outside. That's when they heard it. A faint metallic scraping sound coming from the floor above. They froze listening. It was slow, rhythmic. Scrape, pause, scrape, pause. It sounded like someone was dragging something heavy across the metal catwalks overhead. Kevin, the bravest of the three, called out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" The scraping stopped instantly. The silence that followed was somehow even more terrifying. They decided to press on, convincing themselves it was just the building settling or the wind. Their goal was the factory's main control room, located on the top floor. They found the stairs and began to climb, their flashlights cutting through the oppressive darkness. As they reached the second floor, Sarah let out a scream. In the beam of her flashlight, a message was scrawled in the thick dust on a large metal press. It said, "Get out." The letters were fresh as if someone had just written them with their finger. Now truly terrified, they wanted to leave, but Mark, holding the camera, insisted they needed to see the control room. It was what they came for. Reluctantly, the others agreed. As they ascended the final flight of stairs, the low hum they'd heard stories about grew louder, vibrating through the metal staircase and up through the soles of their shoes. It was a deep, pulsating thrum that seemed to make the air itself tremble. The control room was a time capsule. Old charts and logbooks lay scattered on desks, and a wall of gauges and levers stood silent. But in the center of the room, one small red light on a massive control panel was blinking. On, off, on, off. It was impossible. The factory had been without power for decades. As Mark filmed the blinking light, Kevin noticed something on the floor. It was a series of deep scratches in the concrete, leading from the control panel to a heavy steel door at the back of the room. A door marked basement access, no admittance. It was the entrance to Silas Blackwood's forbidden workshop. Driven by a morbid curiosity they couldn't explain, they approached the door. A thick, industrial lock held it shut, but it was so old and rusted that Kevin managed to break it with a piece of scrap metal. With a deafening groan of protesting hinges, the door swung inward, revealing a steep, dark staircase leading down into blackness. A blast of cold, foul-smelling air rushed up to meet them. That's when the hum intensified, becoming a deafening roar that shook the entire building. The blinking red light on the panel turned solid green. All at once the factory roared to life. Lights flickered on and off, gears began to grind, and conveyor belts started moving. The sound was overwhelming, a chaotic symphony of machinery awakening from a 50-year slumber. Panic set in. They stumbled back, tripping over each other in their haste to escape the control room. As they ran, Sarah glanced back at the basement doorway. For a split second, illuminated by the flashing factory lights, she saw a figure standing at the top of the stairs. It was tall and gaunt, more a shadow than a man, and its eyes seemed to glow with a faint, malevolent light. They didn't stop running. They scrambled down the stairs, ignoring the terrifying noises of the now active factory. Chains swung, pistons pumped, and it felt as if the entire building was alive and angry. They burst out of the broken window they'd entered through and didn't look back until they were a mile away, their hearts pounding in their chests. The video they captured was mostly chaos, shaky footage, panicked breathing, and the deafening noise of the machinery. But for a few frames you can see it. The blinking light, the message in the dust, and for one blurry, distorted second, the dark figure in the doorway. The footage became a local legend, passed around on old VHS tapes, before eventually finding its way online, fueling the mystery of the Blackwood Mill for a new generation. After that night, the authorities welded all entrances to the factory shut. They cited safety concerns, but many believe it was to keep people out, and perhaps to keep something in. Occasionally, on quiet nights, people living nearby still report hearing that low humming sound. Some even claim to see a single light blinking in the window of the old control room. What really happened at the Blackwood Mill? Was it a case of mass hysteria, a story embellished over time, or did Silas Blackwood truly create something in that basement that should have been left alone? A machine with a will of its own, powered by something far beyond our understanding. The factory keeps its secrets locked tight behind its rusted gates. It stands as a silent, decaying warning that some mysteries are best left unsolved, and some doors are meant to remain forever closed. Thanks for joining me on this chilling journey into the heart of the Blackwood Mill. What do you think is lurking in that abandoned factory? Let me know your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the Scary Story channel for more tales from the shadows. Stay safe and see you next time.